Yeah, what's going on? Like, Billboard breakdown, Hot 100, June 28th, 2025. Killing a girl, lemon drop.
Hey there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse. I guess this counts as a normal week, whatever that means, because it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. But you know, it's always a little perplexing assessing what's considered normal on the Hot 100, especially in this year when the normal state of affairs is not that interesting or good. It's not surprising that the Lil Wayne album bomb effectively evaporated after a week, and we got a few returns and a pretty standard slate of new arrivals. But man, watching the music industry effectively run on autopilot, pushing no tangible competition, makes this whole exercise feel really dry, where even the number one debut from last week already feels like it's lapsed into the same stagnation. You want proof of that? Our top 10, where to nobody's surprise, Ordinary by Alex Warren retook the number one. It's got the top spot on the radio. It's got rock solid streaming, dominant sales. Hope y'all are ready for a year where the radio will put this on for the conceivable future, because it's actually still gaining there. Now, for the case that Man-Child by Sabrina Carpenter can mount a comeback down at number 2, look, I don't know. It lost the top spot on streaming, the sales dropped pretty sharply, and while the radio push is in full swing, how willing are programmers going to
I've already heard this song multiple times on the radio.
In pretty heavy circulation. What might be a stronger contender, and I hate saying this, is What I Want by Morgan Wallen featuring Tate McRae, which returned to the top spot on streaming at number 3 and isn't lagging that far on the radio. What I find interesting is that nobody is really buying the song, even compared to Just In Case by Morgan Wallen at number 4, which has slightly weaker streams but better radio, making a slow climb. Then we got Luther by Kendrick Lamar and SZA not budging at all at number 5, where radio losses were compensated by the slight streaming gains, and mercifully kept it over I'm the Problem by Morgan Wallen at number 6, which is bleeding radio, but it's also rock solid on streaming for some stupid reason. And hence we head to the rest of the top 10, where not a single song shifted in position from last week, mostly because any sustained losses were not enough to crack any of their margins. A bar song Tipsy by Shabuzi at number 7, it lost radio, but the streaming was more solid than Die With A Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars at number 8, which had more radio but weaker streams than Lose Control by Teddy Swims at number 9, which had just enough of an insulated margin across the board despite wavering over Beautiful Things by Benson Boone at number 10. You see how goddamn boring and frustrating this is? I know all of you find this tedious. I'm sorry. Can someone inform the American public that there's another way beyond this shit? Well, anyway, our losers and dropouts were...
Oh, wait, hold on. But, hey, the American K-pop Demon Hunters, it's coming. It's coming. Watch out.
Lil Wayne album
it's
bomb.
coming.
It's coming.
New Encanto.
Alongside Busy Woman by Sabrina
it's happening.
Carpenter falling off yet again, and taking with it Am I Okay by Megan Maroney, which comfortably will notch its spot on the year-end list for 2025. Given her Spotify numbers, she could have a nice debut next week. Good for her, I guess, seeing her get some momentum, but we honestly did not get that much in the way of credible losers here, with the majority, say it with me folks, are songs that debuted last week just not getting any traction. Granted, I'm not complaining that Typa by Glorilla fell to 56, Touch Me Like a Gangsta by Jesse Murph collapsed to 71, and Hip Hop by Lil Wayne, Big X the Plug, and Jay Jones at 91, but the trend in general still is not that good. Outside those, Fame Is a Gun by Addison Rae lost all the album gains to 95, and Falling Apart by Morgan Wallen lived up to its name at 100. But okay, maybe there are going to be some excitement in our returns and gains. Well, in the former group we get some results, with Twilight Zone by Ariana Grande climbing back to 88, and Better Me For You Brown Eyes by Max McNown at 96. Not much, but I'll take them. I just wish I could make heads or tails of our gains here, outside of the expected Lil Tecca album gains, as I predicted, with Dark Thoughts at 38 and Ooh Oh at 51. Because the rest of these feel like the safest avalanche imaginable. I like Amen by Shabuzi and Jelly Roll, but what am I supposed to add about Nice to Meet You by Miles Smith at 85, or EO by Bad Bunny somehow being allowed to stick around at 81? Nice job reinforcing your recurrency Rules Billboard, or Fix What You Didn't Break by Nate Smith bouncing up to 77, or Tu Sancho by Fuerza Regida getting a boost at 73, or Backseat Driver by Kane Brown up surprisingly big to 60, or Hard Fought Hallelujah by Brandon Lake getting a sizable boost to 52. I'm not even saying these songs are bad, but you cannot convince me that they represent much in the way of interesting on the Hot 100 in 2025.
True.
The sort of average tracks that clog up every year-end list and they get forgotten within a generation. There's just not much here. Anyway, let's hope the reasonable selection of new arrivals we get give us something to work with. So let's start off with number 97's.
I mean, I kind of like the drums on this one, I guess.
This is the second time in recent weeks where we've gotten a country adjacent act that's crossed over in the Canadian charts before hitting the stateside, although in Josh Ross's case, it's a lot more understandable. He's actually Canadian, he's actually not far from outside Toronto, and in the 2020s, he's seen some credible buzz over here. Now, this is his first hit to cross over to the Hot 100 from his March 2024 album, Complicated, and I really wish there was any flavor translating to this music, but sadly it feels like something Music Row could have shoveled out at any time to be forgotten in the past 10 years. It even explicitly references Nashville in that area code. Come on! You can do more! I mean, the guitars, they're trying to sound big without any texture or even much presence, as the drums and very touched up vocals are way more prominent. And while I appreciate a bit of a quicker tempo, trying to talk a girl into cheating with him because after she dumps this new guy and gets with Ross, she'll never be single again. Yeah, no, you can't really play that sentiment this earnestly. It feels patently disingenuous in a really unflattering way. Suddenly I understand why it took so goddamn long for this to cross over, because it's nondescript at best and pretty damn bad at worst. I'd skip it. Next, number 93, Sparks by Coldplay.
Makes sense. It's a nice little tune. Cute little tune.
I think I agree with the broader sentiment that it tends to be a bad sign for the pop charts when they ignore new music in favor of strip mining the past. Happened in 2022, it's happening again this year. But if you're gonna bring back Parachutes era Coldplay, there are certainly worse sounds to revisit, even if this would not be my pick from that album when Spies and Trouble and Don't Panic are right there. For as much as Coldplay got a reputation for being more driven by pianos and Chris Martin's histrionics, this is a glittery and largely restrained acoustic ballad where Chris Martin's trying to win this girl back by reminiscing on the sparks of their romantic connection between them. And yeah, honestly, that's pretty much it. It's a shockingly simple and gentle song that's likable, but not exactly one I would seek out in their larger catalog. Even among their acoustic ballads, Green Eyes is right there. That's kind of the problem as a longtime Coldplay defender and fan. As much as I like this band, I also know what their great deep cuts are, and this just really isn't it for me. If you want to revive the soft rock era of Coldplay, I don't know, just do better than this. Number 89, Holy Blindfold by Chris Brown.
Just very mid, I guess.
Most recent pop song review, my colleague Todd in the Shadows made the, in my opinion, correct observation that a lot of acts are doubling down on religious themes and wordplay in their music in order to court some of that audience. There's a larger socio-political conversation about this in terms of younger generations going back towards religion, in conversations about conservative cultural shifts, and all of that feels entirely too high-minded because why the fuck is anyone allowing Chris Brown to get away with that grift? And why the hell is John Bellion co-producing it with the Monsters and Strangers? It's hard not to feel like Chris Brown is indulging in the shallowest possible version of it, with the conceit of this song having a girl that's so ungodly hot that she's his holy blindfold, which appears to imply that he's blinded to the rest of the world except this person. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's not surprising. Chris Brown's not a good songwriter. Although apparently there was actually a mix-up with the lyric sheets between him and his label, because this was apparently supposed to be a lot more explicit than it is, and we can't have that for the crossover. But what's all the more galling is the execution is so undercooked and half-assed. A bunch of gauzy,
that's what I'm
glittery
saying. It's
synths
just
backing
like the
the
most
shuffling
mid shit
beat.
ever.
Chris Brown delivering a rather
really
stock
just
auto-tuned
nothing
croon as he sleepwalks through his performance. How does this sound like a more modern-day Coldplay song than the one that just charted? But I'm sorry, you need earnest power to sell something with real religious import. This song has none of that. It's transparently cynical without even any of the southern gospel flourishes that you would think Chris Brown might bring, given that he's from Virginia and he grew up in R&B. In other words, this fucking blows. Next, number 78, Half the Plot by Lil Tecca.
Lil Tecca's always a vibe, man.
Yeah, I'm in a weird place with Lil Tecca. I've got very low expectations for his music, and he only rarely meets them, but I can't be obligated to care that much because too much of his music is way too insubstantial to be that bad. His last single, sampling a classic's actually a rare exception to earn any animosity for me. So with this album boosting his chart, yeah, I don't think this works either. Unfortunately, for similar reasons. It's trying to do way too much without much in the way of energy or coherence. The percussion feels weirdly busy to build a good pocket for Lil Tecca's low-key delivery. The watery funk of the guitar lick, it's nice, but Lil Tecca can't ride it that effectively. And of course, the content's nothing worth remembering or caring about just because Lil Tecca's gonna do whatever he wants, but he's not gonna tell you what it is beyond getting high and stacking cash and then blowing off some girl that's trying to pay attention. This has been a theme for him. Is he just perpetually surrounded by women who don't interest him to the point that he wants to emphasize it in his music? Either way, it's the third song on the album after the singles. It's the only new song from him that charted. That tells me a lot of folks bailed after this when they were hearing the album. I can't say I'm surprised. Number 76, Folded by Killn.
It's a good song.
How to feel
like I requested
I see a new Killn song charting. I always think that they should be way bigger in the mainstream than they are, especially given they put out 2 projects last year where I'm not sure they moved the way they should have. Quality be damned. Anyway, this appears to be a standalone single right now, and what do you know? When you give Killn producers who don't have her mix sound so tinny and metallic, they really deliver. I actually really like how well multi-tracked the vocal line is, alongside the gentle tapping piano with that slick guitar lick, the touches of strings, and that fat groove. It's still quite polished, but a shade more organic, and Killn sells the narrow balance between apologetic and sensual that underscores this song, where they'd like to get back together with this person to the point where they actually folded that person's clothes for them to pick him up, but they're also defiant that they don't want to be treated badly or taken advantage of, while also being hot enough to ensure that apology sticks and that other person might want to stick around. There's more power balance in play, and it feels a bit more mature as a result. In other words, it's exactly the direction I've been looking for Killn to take for years now, and I think they found something that could really work in R&B. Yeah, really good song. I'll take it. It's worth hearing. Number 70, yeah. Won't Stop by Gunna.
Man, Gunna has been making this same fucking song for like 3 years now. It is just like so boring. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. It's just same shit, bro.
Okay, it's not that I'm rooting for Gunna. His ceiling is still criminally low, he's more placid and boring than he should be, and as much as I think he got a raw deal by rap social media who don't understand how the law works, nobody is entitled to a career. But given how Young Thug has really disappointed in recent years, especially since getting out of jail, where if we're looking at YSL adjacent or affiliated projects in the 2020s, I think A Gift and a Curse might be the best of them. I'm just perversely curious how Gunna's gonna be able to ride it out. So with this song from the coming album called The Last One, I mean, I don't think it's bad. With
it's pretty ominous.
Around the sharp but well-produced trap percussion and a cadence on the hook that's actually pretty damn catchy, it's gonna work for what it's trying to do, but it's that little bit extra that Gunna needs that I'm not hearing here. Some of that, of course, is in the content, as it's very stock brand name porn and stacking cash and the whole grind set. Some of it is the feel that the groove should be a little more sinuous. His hook is distinctive, but it's a bit clunky as well. It's certainly polished. I don't think it's bad, but I also know Gunna can do a little better, and if he wants his career to last another couple of years, he'd better do that. Number 69, Lemon Drop by A Tease.
This beat
were as huge as they were in the very early 2020s, that we didn't see more K-pop boy bands attempt a larger crossover, especially given that individual members of BTS have racked up charting presence while split up, where I actually think the comeback will, against my previous expectations, gonna move a lot of units. So here we have a tease. They've been around since the late 2010s, early 2020s. They put out 4 albums and a ton of EPs, building a real worldwide following from what I can tell, but this is the first big crossover hits, and I wish I was more impressed by it. A snap beat alongside the trap skitters and the pitch-shifted vocals, both a chipmunk and pitched down, that sound like DJ Mustard's leftovers from the late 2010s. Against the brittle pulse of the melody for all forced to show off. And while I appreciate they've got slightly more distinctive voices, there's also 8 of them, and the harmonies don't punch out enough to really help them stand out. And the writing also doesn't do much to impress me. They're out partying, and instead of
they know what they're doing with this video, bro.
The one girl with a lot of cocktails and tequila.
I wish I was that fucking sexy, bro. I can't lie to you.
With a beat that's a built
I wish.
strip club, but a bit odd for some of the sweeter crooning across it, especially when the rapping I don't think is much to speak of. Now the pitch shifted vocals, they're enough to turn me off of this, but in a summer that seems bereft of jams, I can see it working. We'll have to see. And finally, number 40, Killin' It Girl by J-Hope and Glorilla.
This also kind of reminds me of like 2010s fucking hip-hop.
And speaking of the BTS members who have had real staying power, J-Hope is now trying for a song with Glorilla to get at least one part of the crossover push to land. I mean, she's a bigger name than Miguel these days, and given how awkward Mona Lisa was before it fell off everyone's radar, maybe it could work. Well, it's certainly the most spare and chilly groove that he's gotten to date. Almost reminds me a bit of 3-6 Mafia, at least before the more saturated synth bounce slips in to set up a more flashy melodic hook, where Restraint is actually a pretty good look vocally for J-Hope. And unsurprisingly, Glorilla's gonna steal the show with plenty of killer references. The period hashtag rap, yeah, that was a choice, but for a relatively simple 12 bars, she packs in some good wordplay, and thus I think it might actually be J-Hope who fumbles this the most. Not that his verse is precisely bad, but I think his delivery is oversold. It's really trying to attract her attention. It doesn't match the chill vibes of the song, where I honestly wish it was a bit more minimalist in order to stick the landing. You didn't need to go over the top for the hook. But in terms of a crossover, there is a cynical part of me that hears how it might work for the both of them for radio crossover. It's certainly better than when Lotto was working with Jungkook a couple of years ago. And I actually think it's a pretty decent song. No expectations is gonna stick around, but I'm not sure I would mind if it did. That says something. And yeah, that's our week. Kind of all over the place, but thank God Kalani showed up with Folded, easily taking the top spot, while Killin' It Girl by J-Hope and Glorilla is going to snatch the honorable mention.
No!
Yeah, I think this has to go to Holy Blindfold by Chris Brown, where Josh Ross's single again is taking the dishonorable mention. My God, I wish Canadian country representation was better than this. Next week, you know, it's going to be genuinely curious if Benson Boone winds up getting an album bomb versus Carol G, who has proven she can do it before. We'll have to see where things fall out. But until then,
K-Pop Demon Hunters.
You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.
Alright, guys, what do you guys think of the new arrivals this week? Coldplay, I think, good song. Folded pretty good. Lil Tecca had a nice little song there, you know. It's an okay week, nothing too crazy, just kind of, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. Tell me your favorite new arrivals below. Go subscribe to Billboard Breakdown. Go subscribe to Spectrum Pulse. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe.